No worries.
Good evening and welcome back to Assetto Corsa Competizione. It is Zolder time here for the Asfalt ACC NM 2024 Championship. It is round 3 of the season and we head to Belgium for what is one of the most iconic circuits on the ACC game itself. I'm joined with Ashley in the commentary box once again as we head into round 3 of this championship. We're all currently into the qualifying session, and Ashley, it's been a season so far that has had many thrills and spills, but what it has brought as well is a lot of excitement.
Yeah, absolutely has, and once again I'm looking forward to another great race here this evening. It would be a lie if I was saying I'm not looking forward to it, because actually this is the one I've been looking forward to most. So yeah, definitely hoping for some more close racing action and lots of thrills and spills, as you just said, Matthew.
It's going to be an interesting evening around this Zolder circuit, a bit different to the 2 tracks we've been at before. A lot of chicanes through this one, 3 in total, and all 3 chicanes very different from each other. The first chicane has that higher raised second sort of curb. You come into this second chicane where it dips through both of them, very easy to lose the car under the rear through that section of the circuit. And then you've got the third chicane towards the end of the final lap, which is a bit more unique and a bit more sort of as we know chicanes to be. Ashley, what demands does this Zolder circuit have though for the drivers other than the 3 chicanes, because it can catch drivers out at any moment?
Yeah, it certainly can, and you're quite right. The chicanes are the most important part of this circuit. It's where you really make or break your lap, because that is where you can gain the most time. But equally, each of these corners do demand a lot of skill and, more importantly, actually precision. There's a few couple of sweeping corners, particularly in that sort of first sector, and so you want to get it right where you want it, really, because that is the best line, and it's going to give you the best lap time as well at the end of it.
It can indeed. We've seen some fantastic racing at the moment with Brenham and Cruz and others along this grid. 15 cars this week, so a couple more back after the Zandvoort race 2 weeks ago, and this is going to be fantastic as we head then into the penultimate race of the season. This is really the halfway stage of this 5-race championship. Reminder that we're back in 2 weeks' time on the 8th of October, and that'll be a double header, the 8th into the 15th. But this man, Solberg, we've spoke about him now 2 weeks in a row. Pit strategies is what has got him good positions in the races, as well as great pace in that Bentley, a car that on this game is a little outdated, and you have to say Solberg is driving brilliantly and really well at this moment in time.
Yeah, he is. He's driving very well. He followed it up last time out with a 5th position, and like you said, the strategy, I think, is what has been putting him in that sort of to be in that position. So he's been driving very well, and like you said, that Bentley slightly older, but looking at the BOP, that Bentley is had 12 kilograms taken out, so it's a bit lighter. Not quite the full 40 like last week, but it's still got a bit of weight reduction there to make sure it is maintaining that performance relative to the other cars out there.
Yeah, indeed it has. So it has lost 12 kilograms, and really for the Bentley, I've driven the Bentley around this circuit plenty of time. It really is strong around here. The bonus with the Bentley is it rides the curbs very well. It's like they're not even there. That's where the Bentley's going to gain a lot of time, by being able to be over them curbs a lot more than some of the other cars. This is on board with Nordberg at the moment in the BMW M4, which actually gains 15 kilograms of weight, the second highest amount of weight gained by a car on tonight's grid, provided the Ford Mustang is still there, because the Ford Mustang is the one that gains the most. But at the moment, Nordberg currently sat in second place, and we haven't yet seen Brenham or Cruz at the top of the charts at the moment. Only just under half a second separating the top 5, then a big gap back to Erdegartsen in that P6 position. But here comes Nordberg down towards the start-finish line now, and will cross the line. Does he improve on his time? He does, and goes within 35 thousandths of a second. That is a heck of a lap from Nordberg there.
Yeah, I was watching on board earlier in practice, and I could see sort of 3-4 drivers all within a tenth of one another fighting for it at the top end of the grid here. So hopefully we can replicate that here in qualifying, and well, Amundsen and Nordberg doing just that. So let's see how that goes for them, and hopefully maybe get a few more up there as well. But even Fernando, Brenham, Cruz, they're less than a tenth separating them. You know, they've got just over 4 temps, 5 temps, and then 5 temps as well, and then you get another little break further back. But hopefully a few packs here forming in terms of lap time should produce some good racing.
Well, the interesting thing as well is Erdegartsen now goes within 6/10 of the pole time. We've been used to seeing Cruz and Brenham, haven't we, at the front of the pack, a couple of tenths clear of the rest in their own sort of league, in their own battle. We're not seeing that here at the moment in this stage of qualifying. Still a bit of time left to go, at least half the session left to go. But what we are seeing is some other guys now maybe being able to mix it with the top 2 drivers at this Zolder circuit. And through the hairpin comes Alan Drake cruising down towards the final chicane now. Got to get this one right. You just got to watch for the sausage curbs on both apexes here. Can just unsettle the curb, especially that one on the exit. Doesn't really ride them there. A car in front has just dropped a wheel or two into the gravel. That may have invalidated that run. It wasn't, because Nordberg now goes top of the timing screens, and Cruz now moves up to P3, and it's now 2.5 tenths separating the top 3. But Nordberg, even dropping a wheel onto the gravel, didn't phase him because he goes top of the timing screens.
No, absolutely. Good lap from both of those guys there, though. They're definitely getting in amongst it. But like you said, it could be a bit of a changing of the guard here. Norberg and Amundsen seem to be out front, sort of on their own at the moment, and then Cruz just a couple of temps back. And we still wait to see what Brenham can produce with his ultimate pace as well. In terms of sort of that provisional pole time, it's actually a bit quicker than what they were doing in practice. So they've sort of blown my prediction, if you like, for what pole would have been, and that was a low 127. So already in the 26s, and that is absolutely flying around here, really nailing the circuit is Nordberg, and I'd imagine the conditions are probably suiting them, the cars, quite well too. Yeah,
I'm not sure what time of day the race is, but it looks either evening or morning type race. It looks like the sun's either setting or rising, and really is starting to the track conditions will be a little cooler than what we've seen in recent weeks, as Brenham improves on his time and just goes within half a second now. Solberg improved on the last lap and he moves up to P11. Here's Ivar Solberg though. He's in the Ferrari 296. That loses 3 kilograms around this Zolder circuit, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Erdegaard and Solberg both in the pit lane at this moment in time, but it is Norberg from Amundsen with Cruz and Brenham 3rd and 4th, Fernando and Erdegartsen, as Solberg there decides to bail on his lap and gets right out of Cruz's way. And the thing I love about ACC in the night time or the darker races, for those who's actually used their auxiliary lights, I think we saw it there on Cruz's car, he's got 2 red strips. He's clearly selected red as his colour on the side of his windscreens for his auxiliary lights, and they really stand out, and you can see them a little bit more in these races. There you see on the Bentley there of Solberg, another red light around the grille, just showing us that these other livery features, that not just the fantastic liveries they have on the car as the Ferrari bunny hops over the second curb at the first chicane, but also the auxiliary lights being able to show us some fancy flashy things as the night will roll in, because it's not the easiest to spot these cars in the night time on Assetto Corsa Competizione, but either way, there we see, look, the red light around the grille. There is Sandberg then, Oscar Sandberg, who is in the other Bentley, and it's hard to pick a driver that hasn't been involved in a key battle in this season, isn't it, Ashley? Every time we've seen somebody, they've been in a fight somewhat or another.
Yeah, they absolutely have, but I think that's just more of a testament to the drivers, how close they are in terms of sort of skill and pace, that they really have sort of nailed it in terms of that competition sort of effect, if you like. So no, they're really on it, all of them, and yeah, it's brilliant to see, because looking down that timing tower, all right, there's a few gaps between some, but then there's another cluster. They're not just a single person on their own. I think the only one we can say at the moment is Nilsson in 15th. He's a second off Pettersson, but even then, I reckon he's probably still gearing up to go for a real quick run, and he should be well amongst it as well. So, like you say, it's brilliant to see, because everyone has had a battle this season so far, and we're only just at the halfway stage. Still got 2 more races after this one.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see what's to come after this one. This is Amundsen, who was just on board that minty green McLaren, the McLaren 720S Evo, gained 6 kilograms of weight, and we did see the Ford Mustang out there on the grid. That gains 22 kilograms as well, just to keep you, the audience, updated in what cars are carrying what sort of weight then throughout tonight. This is Amundsen, currently 700ths of a second down on Nordberg on their personal best lap times, gets it through the hairpin corner. Now down towards the final chicane And in what is a great circuit here as Brennan moves up into P3 within 2/10 now of Nordberg. Nordberg, no improvement there, but was some 1 second off his pace. Maybe that was a bit of an outlap from him, or maybe he made a mistake or two on that lap. And we'll go again. Here comes Amundsen then to the line. Does he find any improvement in the car? No, he does not. A 1:27.7, so a little off of his best as well, as Erdegarsten is in the pits. 3 minutes after qualifying, so plenty of time for drivers to get some final runs in.
It's not an incredibly long lap. 1 minute 27, 1 minute 30. You know, in between there is probably going to be the average. So they've got plenty of time to come back in and go once again. If they want to put a new set of tyres on, they can really try and extract every single millisecond out of that car. But, you know, I think setup-wise as well, though, like you mentioned it earlier, the curbs, they want to ride it. I think setup-wise, the cars really do need to be geared towards that, because those chicanes do, you do gain so much time in them. You really want to be on and over the curve, because that is the racing line.
And I think this is where actually that the Bentley, you look at the Ford, you look at the BMW, two bigger cars as well, like the Bentley that can ride the curbs well. They gain weight. That is probably more because that they are a newer car, a newer model, so therefore a little better than the Bentley, which is a bit outdated. But the Bentley that only loses 12 kilograms, it's like we said, it's not as much as it normally loses, as Brenham now tops the timing screens by 0.07 of a second. And Nordberg will go again here to try and beat that lap time. But this is the thing. The Bentley's lost 12 compared to gaining 15 or 22 out the Ford and the BMW. That'll be because of, you know, other things, such as, you know, its power performance or its turbo that it will run in the game based on the updates of the sim. So not just what the weight, how heavy the car is or what it's meant to be, but because it's a bit outdated on other factors is why it maybe doesn't gain the weight that the BMW and the Ford Mustang does. But all three of them cars, you'd imagine, will be pretty good over the curb tonight. We've already seen one Ferrari, didn't we, hop over that first chicane and not really take it as well as he possibly can. Does that actually change the driver's perspective and lines into that first chicane? Ferraris, McLarens maybe got to take a tighter first part of the chicane, especially at the first one, whereas the BMWs, the Fords, the Bentleys can kind of straight line it a little bit easier.
Yeah, you're quite right. I think they have to think about it, definitely, particularly in a race setting. They're going to set that corner up differently depending on what car they're driving. You know, I feel like the McLarens, your Ferraris, to me, they're more of a sports car than, say, BMWs, your Bentleys, which are, of course, they're sporty in their own right. You know, they're quick enough to be winning races, but they haven't got that sort of profile, that low down sort of look that the Ferraris and the McLarens have. So they can, you know, as we said, ride the curb a bit easier, and you know, such as the Ferrari and McLaren, they may have to, like you say, take a slightly tighter entry and sort of stay clear of the curb just a little bit more. So you could see some variations in racing lines here this evening, but that again should promote some racing, because you then get people being able to go side by side. So hopefully it ends that way.
And this is the bonus, I think, with what we've seen with some of the circuits we've had at the moment, isn't it? We've had circuits that suited the McLaren and the Ferrari. They maybe haven't got the results like the BMWs have, but they suit certain tracks, whereas other cars will suit other circuits, and this is why the BOP is in play. We did see a clip there of Axel in the Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz gains 9 kilograms. Not a bad car in its own right as well, a front-engine car that is going to try and maybe dip under that second to Brenham, who's managed to pip Cruz again in a qualifying session. And well, you have to say it's again advantage Brenham over Cruz, especially in this championship fight. Then this time for Brenham, he's got cars between him and Cruz.
Yeah, it's going to make the race a bit trickier. I think qualifying is done now, Matthew. So if anybody is on one final flying run, they've got to make it count now, because Brenham has set the benchmark. So can anybody respond? Axel coming now towards the final corner. See if he makes an improvement on his lap time. Currently 8th position at the moment. Looking pretty clean and tidy. That's good news. Yeah, using that little bit of that curb. Try and cut off as much of the corner as he can. And then up towards the line. What will it be? It's a slight improvement to 7th.
Yeah, slight improvement up into 7th place then. So it is Brenham from Nordberg with Amundsen, your front three in this one then. And what a qualifying session for Brenham. Tight qualifying session. We could be in for a fantastic race. One thing we forgot to mention, there was that first section of corners. You got the left-hander of turn 1. You then got a section of right-handers coming through turn 2 and 3. which is really what makes this track different to others, doesn't it? It's got different sections all around it, and this is why we love Zolder.
Absolutely. And we've mentioned the chicanes plenty of times now, but, you know, and how they set the car up to ride them. Equally, you know, a soft suspension to ride those curbs are not going to be that beneficial in Sector 1. You want a more stern, more sturdy suspension to be able to roll the car in and let the tyres and everything deal with that force and pressure that you are exerting on the road. So you want a stiffer suspension for that. So it's trying to find a good balance, and that's the thing with circuits. You're always trying to find that nice balance between sort of being able to go quick in the corners but also quick on the straights. And equally, such as this, the chicanes, you want to be able to ride the curves. But in Sector 1, you really want a harder suspension to roll the car in more. So let's see how the drivers cope with that.
Yeah, it's going to be about finding the balance tonight as we gear up for this race with the full formation lap coming your way in a couple of moments' time. And don't worry if you see the cars just dropping on your screen at the moment. That is basically them hitting that ready up button, or I believe it's them coming out of the setup screen that they will have in front of them. And don't forget, it is that pit stop race as well. There is no pit window. They can pit at any stage. Oh no, there is a pit window, apologies. It opens a minute after the start and a minute before the end. And that will allow these drivers to basically have 58 minutes of pitting when they want. It is mandatory set for fuel, in which they are stationary for 25 seconds minimum. So that is going to be the key there. No matter whether you put 1 litre in or a full tank of fuel in, your set to be stationary for 25 seconds minimum. So going into that, I don't think this is something we've discussed too much. What is your strategy, Ashley, as a race driver? Are you half fueling the car? Are you quarter fueling it? What is your strategy game plan? Knowing that everybody has that same pit length as you on a track where tyre wear, depending on the temperature, could not be as much of an issue as Zandvoort last week.
Yeah, you're quite right in that. Personally, I couldn't fully say 100% because I haven't driven much round Zolder. So in terms of sort of tyre wear strategy, I can't give it exact. But for me, I think it's key to be flexible. You know, if you're racing in a pack, your rival might pit a lap earlier. You know, do you then dare to stay out and go longer, extend that first stint whilst you've got maybe a bit of clean air and less distractions in front or behind you, and then try and go for that overcut? Or equally, if you are stuck in a pack, you know you're quicker than your rival in front, you want to go in early and try and get that clean air that way and get a cut going. So I think the key is flexibility. That's always how I've driven and raced. Because then I have that opportunity and options open to me depending on what I want to do and what I see fit.
Yeah, and you know that is pretty much, you've got to read the race, haven't you? But obviously it's down to that unknown at the start. What do you do? These guys are obviously going to go into this race with a game plan. Probably going to have teammates or engineers to make sure that they are all on the same wavelength and making sure they're doing the same thing. Here on the circuit. Don't worry if you see cars driving in and out of each other. That is not a problem of connection or anything on the other end. That is the vehicle's ghost. And you may see drivers just speed up and hit onto the brakes and warm their brakes up and also warm their tyres up. On Assetto Corsa Competizione, it is easier and better if you use the brakes to warm your tyres up over the more traditional weaving left and right to get your tyres into a good window. There is a couple of cars doing it. This is why you're seeing pretty slow formation laps. Drivers may also be riding on the brakes. The interesting thing to note, and I'm not sure if this is something you're aware of, Ashley, is that drivers need to make sure they've got the correct brake pads on in their setup for the hour race. They've got 4 brake pads to choose from, and 4 is pretty much a sprint 15-minute, 20-minute / qualifying brake pad. Brake pad 3 is for a wet race. Brake pad 2 is for more of an endurance race. And brake pad 1 will last you up to an hour. So drivers need to make sure they've got a better brake pad on and not running brake pad 2 or 3, because that will hurt them going into the race especially.
No, I did not know that. So no, you are giving me information as we go. Brilliant stuff. But yeah, like you say, they do need to warm them up, get everything ready, get everything race ready, shall we say, because they'll be going very shortly whilst they finish up their formation lap. They're on the back half of the circuit now, down towards turn number 8, that hairpin. But, you know, they're all thinking about what they're wanting to do here at the start. You know, the best thing is going to be don't get into any contact, don't get into any collisions, should I say. and make sure you survive at least lap number 1, and then you are in a good position from there to see how you can get on in this race. But yeah, I think keep your eye for turn 5, 8, and the final corner here on lap number 1. They're probably your best chances to make a move if you have an opportunity available to.
Indeed, as they're coming down towards the final chicane, then it is 74% of a lap lost with a tyre change, 65 seconds. So around about 60 seconds if you're not going to change your tyres in this race. So that is key information to go into this race with. But we exit the final corner now. It is Brenham who is on that pole position, and he's about to get us underway alongside Nordberg, who will get the best start as they roll down towards the start-finish line now. And for the third race this season, we are green and go here, and it's a decent start from Brenham. Great start from one of the Bentleys as you see him pull out in the background. Nordberg sticking with Brenham though as Brenham gets through turn 1 a lot better, and everybody through nice and cleanly once again. Cruz has already made up a place straight off the start line. He's got himself past Armandson already in this race. He clearly wanted to take advantage, and look at Fernando having a look at Armandson as well, coming in towards turn 2 and 3 as everybody filters through now. Great start, bit of a hip and shoulder with the Mercedes of Axelan onto the grass just ever so slightly. Now coming down towards the first chicane. This is going to be the tricky sector of the section of the circuit. Make sure you get this one right. You do not want to be bouncing all over the curves. Very easy to unsettle the car as you see one of the Bentleys do just that. But he's going to lose out one place to his teammates, and now the Ferrari squeezing the Mercedes towards the wall. That is, I believe, Odegaard on Axelan there as they all come through in towards the second chicane, and a bit of a dramatic start there for one of the Bentleys, just taking a little too much curb, but Brenham got away and did what he needed to.
Yep, good start from the leaders there. Brenham, like you say, just doing exactly what he is asking for, in order to make sure this championship is his, because he's doing everything he can do to enable that to happen. But yeah, bit of a, touch and go situation there, particularly towards the client chicane, that first chicane. It is pretty much single file, so if you are going to make a move, you really need to make sure you are either alongside or, if not better yet, in front before you turn in, because if you're not quite there, you do risk clipping the other driver, potentially them coming across your nose. The two Bentleys you see going through one behind the other, and they got the same livery on. They're teammates this evening.
I believe they might be as they come through turn 1 on the second lap now. There is Bentley 1 and Bentley 2 coming through then. That is Solberg and Sandberg there, as that's a Ferrari of, I believe, Odegaard, who has just had a little twitch and a bit of a mistake on his car, and now the Bentley's pretty much pushing each other through. Sandberg there really hot on the heels of Solberg, coming in towards that first chicane again. Haugen is in the pit lane, not quite sure why. That may be a bit of damage on his car, but I didn't see anything in this first part of the race. And through the first chicane, everybody goes once again towards the leaders here. Then Brenham still being hassled by Nordberg, not really pulling away from Nordberg like he has done in recent weeks. And Cruz also not on the back of Nordberg like we've seen, as Nordberg there, very poor line through towards the hairpin corner now, and that is not what he'd have wanted to do at all. Through the hairpin we go, and this is going to be interesting to see where Nordberg goes in this race then.
Yeah, we're not seeing too many breakaways either at the moment. Of course, we've only just about to complete lap number 2, so still an awful long way to go. We've got the full hour yet, basically. But it is nice to see that, because it does mean that the drivers, in terms of lap time and performance, are very equal. So we should get some racing. It's going to become a cat and mouse game then. And, it could all, at the end of the day, come down to strategy and when you pit on to that tyre. Haugen's still in pit lane there. Let's hope he does come back out onto the circuit and get back racing, but he is going to be a lap down now, which is a shame. But either way, we've still got 14 cars in this, plenty of action to watch unfold, as we are currently riding on board here with Odegaard, 10th position currently, and he's following Axelan now in front. Just dipped a wheel into the gravel, won't unsettle the car too much though. But yeah, just waiting for not something to happen, but we're just waiting for potentially a move to be on. You can see them there through the first chicane, bumping and driving over those curbs.
Indeed they are. As Cruz is P3 at the moment. He's currently trying to chase down Nordberg, but to no avail at the moment. Nordberg doing a cracking job of staying ahead of that of Cruz and really sticking to the back of Brenham as well. It's an interesting one to keep our eyes on here for the rest of this race. Brenham and Nordberg then pulling away slightly from Cruz, you'd say, in this fight at the moment as they come towards the end of the next lap. Only 4 minutes into this race, and there's going to be a lot of laps in this one because, like Ashley said earlier in qualifying, it is only a shorter lap than what we are used to, but 27's for the leaders. And it's interesting to see what lap times they're doing as they all come across the line now. Back down towards Erdegaard then. In that Ferrari 296, he's got Solberg just behind him in the other Ferrari 296 as well. So this is going to be an interesting one today. Odegaard just looks a little twitchy for me at the moment. Just seeing him a couple of times. His car looks a little unsettled, and I wonder actually if he hasn't quite got the balance right that he was mentioning earlier.
Well, if he hasn't, it's going to be quite a long race for him because he'll be wrestling it the entire time. So we'll see how it unfolds. It could be fuel load that is potentially unsettling it. We don't know the full details of it, so we'll see how he gets on. It looks pretty good there through the Klein chicane as we now look forward to Odegaard Stewart, currently P6. That's a good race for him so far as they make their way through the Villeneuve chicane now, and you can see there the Bentleys still chasing one after the other, but there has been a bit of a gap from the top 5 now. You can see there the mint car of Fernando going through, and then you get a little break back towards these guys, 6th, 7th and 8th, all in a nice blue livery, all sky blue there. But yeah, last time round though, the front 5, Alan Drake Cruz was the only one in the 128s. Let's see what it is as they cross the line now. But it would seem to me he is a bit of one of the slower ones. But I say that as Norberg then goes to 128 and everyone else now in the 27. So yeah, it's a bit of back and forth.
The interesting thing there for me was Amundsen was 4/10 quicker than Cruz, and we can see here from Fernando, who's just starting to lose pace to the top 4, is you've got Amundsen right up the rear wing of the BMW of Cruz then, coming in towards turn 3 now. And as you can see, look, there is Amundsen closer to Cruz and what Cruz is to Norberg. Brennan, by the way, starting to break away with a 27-1 last time around. So he is absolutely flying in this race. Solberg will probably be disappointed with how this race has started at the moment, because normally he's around that 5th or 6th position. Yes, he's 7th, but he's losing touch to 6th and has really lost touch to P5. And here is Amundsen we're on board with now. Look, just gaining closer to the back of Cruz ever so slightly as he comes through the Villeneuve chicane. And it is a, once again, BMW 1, 2, 3 and 4. And yeah, good job there's no Lamborghinis out here, because if a friend of mine is watching, he'll have a nightmare of my Bentley rear-ending him in the pit entry in his Lamborghini. But he was too slow in the pit lane, so I'm putting that one down to him. Hopefully we don't see any of that tonight. But I tell you what, this is we're seeing a different race, and I think this could be down to strategy, purely strategy in this one tonight.
Yeah, I think you are pretty much spot on there. It's going to come down to, I think, a bit of patience as well. If you are following someone ahead, once again, it's another one of those circuits where there's not a great number of corners you can overtake at. As I said earlier, 5, 8 and 10 are probably your best chances, and all the others, you kind of need to go single file, because that is the quickest line, of course. But if you do go off that racing line to try and race with each other, you're going to lose time most likely. But there goes one of the Bentleys. Was it Bentley 3?
It was Patterson, yeah, in the Bentley.
Yeah.
Number in P13, Vestergaard has got past him as he tries to chase after Solberg. That is a third of these sky blue Bentleys. I don't think he's running the same livery as Solberg and Sandberg then. But yeah, just running wide out of turn 1, and so easy to do around this circuit. There's a couple of gravel traps that you can just push a little too far on the exit of one of the corners and find yourself dropping a wheel or two in it. He dropped all 4 in it there, and you just saw the momentum lost, as now, once again, look, Cruz is now ebbed onto the back of Nordberg, pulling away from Amundsen a little bit behind. So these 3 having a very interesting battle, while Brenham's not a million miles away up the road.
No, one false move and that could all change quite quickly. Even Fernando, he's slightly off this little pack. You just saw him there in the background. There, just about saw the front of his mint car. You might see it now. There it is. But yeah, equally, any of these guys make just a small mistake, maybe clip over a curb just a bit too hard and heavy, and they will be put offline. They will lose time, and before you know it, they could be coming into the clutches of anyone behind. So you still have to be on it. As we said earlier, precision is going to be the biggest gainer around here. So you do really need to be on it.
We've got sort of a quartet up front, then Fernando, then a four-way fight here, and Ødegaard, and then back to Salzburg and Vestergaard, who's in a little battle as well. But at the moment, it is Brennan leading from Nordberg, from Cruz, from Amundsen, from Fernando, your top 5, as we're on board with Axel in the Mercedes-Benz, the AMG GT3 car, I believe the 2020 version of the car. Just have the same name as the older one. But you just see Axel there just having a little peak, but not close enough at the minute. Now, really right at the first curb, you just see there, look, how bouncy that was as he hit that second curb. A little harder than he might have liked.
Yeah, potentially. He doesn't want, like you said, he doesn't want to upsettle the car too much. But you can see there in the Villeneuve chicane, they absolutely cut it nicely, as much as they can, really, trying to straight line it almost to gain that lap time. And pretty much all of the cars shouldn't have an issue with that one, because it is very flat. If anything, it dips down rather than up. So yeah, maybe that could unsettle it in a different way that could catch the drivers out. But either way, the cars should be able to deal with it quite nicely. As we look back on board here with Nordberg, currently second position still, and we can see behind Cruz still very much in hot pursuit, and the top 4 here now pretty much all setting identical lap times. There's not really much to separate them. Even Fernando, he's still not a million miles off. He's just a few tenths slower on that last lap, so slowly losing a little bit, but not a million miles away.
No, not a million miles away. Ødegaard's lapped a lot slower than Solberg behind, so Solberg in his Bentley obviously is going to try and make some gains here and get as much place as he can back in this one. We're 11 minutes into the race here, and it is Nordberg we're looking back on over Cruz, and he's pulled a decent gap, hasn't he, in the first part of this this lap. I don't know what lap we're on, but 11 minutes in, he's pulled a bit of a decent gap here, as fuel load's obviously going to get lighter. That's the place, though, the second chicane. For the viewers at home, you get 3 track cuts. On your 4th track cut, you get a drive-through penalty. The second chicane, you get too greedy on that middle curb, and that's the one that's going to really hurt you for a track cut. So drivers have got to be wary of that one as well, haven't they? And our race, and you just try and push that limit a little too hard, you're going to pick up a warning or 2.
Yeah, you are. We were saying, you want to cut all these chicanes, but you don't want to do it too much, because, yeah, the warnings could be coming your way, and before you know it, if you do get a penalty, that is very much your race done and dusted. Back here, though, for the battle for P6, Ødegaard's still leading it from the 2 Bentleys of Solberg and Sandberg behind. Axel also in hot pursuit. But they're just biding their time. They're waiting for an opening to come up. Solberg looking pretty close to the back of Ødegaard's Stuurno, maybe trying to line him up into a certain corner. You're playing mind games in this sort of race, because you want to try and force a mistake from your rival, and that normally means getting as close as you possibly can without making a mistake yourself, and just trying to force it. But,
you are, and this is the tricky part about this circuit, isn't it? Is you are trying to make the move, try and open the door for yourself, but the nature of this circuit allows you doesn't allow you, to really force the door open. Like you see in there, where are you going to go at the first chicane if you're trying to stick a nose up the inside? You've got to be fully alongside, if not slightly in front, to get that job done. You are seeing, though, the strength of this Bentley over the curbs. Look at the first chicane, look at the second chicane. Solberg is really close up to the rear of Ødegaard, but on them straights at McLaren, just being a newer car, is just able to have a better advantage. They get into the hairpin, pretty flat curve and a flat part of the circuit. Ødegaard's a little deeper than Solberg. Yeah, really good race so far. So the pit window has been open now since the first minute of this race. So really the end of lap 1, it has been open. And this is down with Nielsen currently in 14th place. A little off the pace of the other guys, but he's keeping going. And it's track time for Bjorn. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, track time is key, because you get more comfortable with your car. So hopefully, next time out, you'll be feeling a bit more at one with the machinery you are driving. So even if you are out the back, it doesn't matter too much, because you are gaining knowledge, gaining practice, and that is all important as the season wears on. Equally, all your rivals are too, so you really want to try and get ahead of the curve, but can be quite tricky. Solberg we're riding on board with now, still P11th, a little bit of a gap behind him to Vestergaard. But he's got nice clear air in front of him, so he shouldn't have many distractions. You can just see there in the foreground as the 10th place of Ødegaard dips into the chicane then. But he'll be racing nice and cleanly, which is good for him. Just putting in the laps as we come back to Solberg. Once again, looking pretty close to the back of Odegaard's Duan. It could be a matter of time before something's on here. He's probably just sussing him out. Where is he weak? Where is he strong? And then maybe try and mount an attack.
Yes, maybe so. That McLaren looks a little better than the Bentley out the corners, so that's the problem. Through the corners, the Bentley definitely looks a better car. Out the exit, it's definitely down to the McLaren. But that could all be a traction thing for these cars, as Brenham there, you're looking at lap times behind. Look, Brenham just losing a couple of tenths there to Nordberg and Cruz and to Armington. But all these top five, within that 27.6 to 27.9, really lapping at a similar pace. And cancelling each other out, aren't they, a little bit? Because these gaps aren't closing. And when they do close, the next lap, it'll open back up just that slight little bit. Either way, I think we're in for that strategy race. I think we're in for a final half of the race when everybody's done their pit stops, where the battles may come to us. And we may get to see some overtakes happen out there on this Zolder circuit. So we're back with Erdegaardsten, who's just pulled slightly a bit more in front of Solberg, but Sandberg behind, look, you can see there, has the Jamaican, the Cool Runnings inspired Mercedes-Benz behind him. And Axel really on the rear wing of the Bentley, coming down through into the Villeneuve chicane. And Axel looks like he could be the man who's about to have a look at a move or two.
Yep, absolutely could. We're still looking here, though, to Odegaardsten, once again, just highlighting that Bentley's ability to ride those curves. Really can cut it quite nicely, and of course has that advantage. I think where the McLaren is strong, you said earlier, on the exit, and I think that's just purely down to power to weight ratio. You know, of course, we've mentioned that Bentley has lost some weight. He's gone on a little bit of a diet, taking some of those kilograms out. But like we say, older model of car, the engine's probably quite not as powerful as this McLaren, a bit more modern. And so the acceleration's just there. And that just means in the exit corners he's able to pull away and just create that gap and buffer where the Bentley can't do much about it.
And again, it's going to depend actually as well on the driver's setup, the traction that these drivers will set up, and they can access their traction control and ABS settings manually on their wheel to change that. So again, if the Bentley's running a bit of a higher traction control than that McLaren, you know, it's just going to be a bit easier for him to get out of the corners and get better exits.
Yeah, you're right, it could be that. And then that would affect tyre wear differently as well. So I think by the time people start thinking about pit stops is maybe when we might see a few more moves being made, because tyre wear will probably be a bit different. But he's looking pretty close to the back of him now on the run down to the Villeneuve chicane.
Yeah, he's side by side with him entering Villeneuve and just can't get alongside enough. It was actually on the outside for the first part of it, and it's not really a place you can overtake, but that's serious luck number one from Solberg there on Erdegaardsten as they come up now towards the hairpin. No send-it manoeuvre there. He knows he's still got a long way to go, but you're right. It could be a matter of who's got the better tyres towards the end of this race. And this is what we saw, didn't we, 2 weeks ago with Solberg? Pitted, looked like he changed tyres, had that bit of a longer pit stop, and then had them pressure tyres at the end, where if he didn't push too hard and make one mistake, could have easily have got a result there. You just saw Erdegaardsten just understeer a little wide out the final corner. This is going to give the Bentley a mighty run down the start-finish straight. And here comes Solberg. Has that inside line over Erdegaardsten. Can he hold it there? Erdegaardsten right around the outside. He'll then be up the inside for turn 2. And this is where Solberg now will try and maybe tuck underneath. No, he's going to try and hold it strong around the outside of turn 2. In towards 3 and 4 we go. Still together, it is still hammer and tong, and now the Bentley pulls in front. That is great driving from the pair of them.
Yeah, good driving, like you say, and I think keep an eye on behind, because Sandberg and Axel closing in on that, because where they're running side by side, they are slowing each other down just a little bit because they're unable to take the optimal racing line. Look, here comes the second Bentley trying to line up Odegaardsten maybe on into the Villeneuve chicane, will have that inside line. Unlike Solberg last lap, late on the brakes, and yes, move done and completed. Well done indeed. Both Bentleys through though on that McLaren, and they can now see if they can pull away.
And Axel now has come to the party. He wants a piece of this McLaren as well. Erdegaardsten this lap hasn't really done anything wrong. Made the mistake at the last corner of the last chicane, and since then he's lost out to 2 Bentleys and has a Mercedes-Benz. Look at Ødegaard on the back of Axel, not a million miles away. As the leaders, Amundsen's had a terrible lap of 29.1. Oh, Ødegaard's there, nearly into the back of Sandberg. And Axel comes into the pit lane, so he is the first man to pull the trigger and go into the pits. But what happened to Amundsen then? A 29.1. He's dropped off them 4. Not really into the clutches of Fernando either at the moment, but still not where we'd want to be after good pace earlier on in this race.
Oh, I had to hold my breath for a second there, or I feared I may have screamed, because I thought that Mercedes was going into the back of that McLaren for a brief moment, but no, just firing into the pit lane. Luckily, no incidents occurred, but yeah, for a moment, I thought, oh, you know, heart in mouth situation. But either way, we move forward. Like you say, Amundsen just seems to be struggling a little bit there, and these Bentleys now are starting to pull away just a little bit. And look at that, Zolder now has decided to join the party, and he's, or is that Ødegaard? Sorry, he's now behind Ødegaard, Stuart, and not by a lot either.
No, he's right there as well, and yeah, what an incident that could have been at the final chicane as Ødegaard just dropping a wheel over the curb onto the grass again. And this McLaren, well, it's not looking favourable at the moment, just seems to be struggling. And is this the Bentley coming on strong as the race goes on? 20 minutes in, we're starting to see it get even better and better. So 27's out front, and that's how long the pit stop is, by the way. Leaders top 4-5 now have crossed the line, and Axel has only just came out of the pits. Look, there is Brenham, so he's going to be receiving the blue flags, and that is how long a pit lane this is, with the 25-second stop. Maybe if you've taken tyres 30 seconds, you lose, what was it I said you lose? You lose 74% of the lap, and he was that far behind. He was already a quarter of the lap behind the leaders that he's nearly been lapped.
Yeah, that's quite huge actually. Maybe you can clear this up for me as well, Matthew. Do they have to move out the way for the blue, or is it the rule where, you know, beware, leader behind, it would be courteous if you moved?
I think that is league dependent. For me personally, so hopefully we can get some clarification on that. I think that's league dependent. Another league that I bring on ACC, their rule is bog standard blue rules. Move out the way, please. 3 corners, otherwise you get a penalty. Obviously, we're safe to do so. Other leagues do run it more of the sort of endurance type of you as the lead car have to do the lapping of others. So, yeah, interesting one. We did see, though, Axel there go a little wide at the hairpin to allow Brenham to come through. Now, if you're Nordberg or Cruz, knowing that, or maybe Cruz there now that Nordberg's behind Axel, would you maybe have thought, right, let's undercut here, try because of a bit of traffic to get the jump over Brenham and Nordberg?
I don't see why not. You don't lose anything from doing it, because I think you're going to come out in a nice bit of clean air. The reason why I mentioned the blue flag actually is now Axel is having to pull over and get out the way of the leaders. If anything, it's not done him any favours. He's going to be dropping further time, because these guys behind, they're still at full racing speed. They're not being held up by each other really. So they're just able to go at it. So really, I think Axel's going to lose, you know, net overall by the time these guys pit as well.
And if we look at the gaps between the leaders and Solberg down, Brenham come out on the back of Axel. So every lap they keep going and these keep circulating at the moment, they're a couple of seconds quicker. After so many more laps, they'll then jump Solberg in the pits or Sandberg in the pits, meaning that Sandberg won't have to move out the way. He's already been lapped, as you see the Bentley there getting horribly wrong through the first chicane. And now here comes Ødegaard going to that inside line for this little bend. Backs out of it though, does not want to be on the outside for Villeneuve chicane. But the Bentley getting all out of shape. So yeah, the more laps the leaders keep doing, they're going to jump these on the pit strategy in terms of lapping them if these was to pit before the leaders, just because of the fact they're a bit quicker out front than what these guys are behind. As you see now, Ødegaard is with Ødegaard as well in this little trio of a battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was quite brave of that McLaren trying to go the long way in the Villeneuve chicane, but yeah, like you say, rightly backed out of it, I think, and live to fight another day is always a good motto to have in racing, because there will be plenty more battles to come. Equally, he does need to keep a look over his shoulder as well, because Ødegaard right behind is looking pretty racy at this stage of the race, with one small mistake. and he'll be ready to pounce. But yeah, he's got his hands full right this moment, looking forward and back. Hard job to do.
Yeah, he's got a hard job to do, and he's got to make sure he's doing it to the best of his ability. I'm just trying to go through the information we've got, and I can't see anything to do with blue flags in this at the moment. So, yeah, not 100% sure on the blue flag rule. But here comes Erdegaardsten having a look once again on Sandberg, but thinks better of it as they come in towards the first chicane again. And this time the McLaren was the one who was bouncing through it and got that a little bit wrong for himself.
Yeah, he'll suffer a little bit from that. Maybe we'll see how that pans out for him. But back up front, Amundsen here, currently P4, and right up behind the 12-year-old shoulders of Alan Drake Cruz, still in a very respectable P3 on that podium. The two out front have just created a little bit of a gap between them, a bit of breathing room. They're all still within hot pursuit, and like you say, they are just trading lap times back and forth, so they're all very much well within the shout of even winning at this stage. It is still a long way, not even halfway yet.
And you see as well, look, Axton there, because of this blue flag at the moment, he's just in at a 1:29. His best lap is at 28.4. So, yeah, it's not exactly where he wants to be. Solberg now comes into the pits. The man who in the first two races has pitted latest of them all. He's going for a bit more of a mid-race pit stop here, 25 minutes in. As the lights are taking over. I believe this is in an evening time setting because the lights now are starting to take over a little more. And look at that, Cruz has made a mistake through the first chicane. Here comes Amundsen round the outside. Did they just bang doors? Not sure because of the trees in the way. But into Villeneuve, Amundsen up the inside. Thank you very much. And that is a position for P3. The 12-year-old there made a little mistake coming through the first chicane, and Amundsen fully capitalised on that. Solberg now into the pit lane. Where will he come out in terms of Axel? And in terms of the leaders, this could be back to what we were saying a moment ago, of Brenham could be ahead of him during his pit stop.
Yeah, I think he's probably hoping that he'll actually come out behind the leaders because it'll probably benefit him in the long run. Because he won't have to move over, slow down and let them by as Cruz comes now cruising into pit lane and making sure to avoid a collision as well. Here comes Solberg though, he's exiting the pits. Where is he going to come out in the grand scheme of things? Where is the leader? That's going to be the big question into turn number 2. Oh, there he is.
Pretty similar to the Axel one as well, isn't it? So, difficult place. And actually, I don't know if you're with me on this one, but the pit entry here is horrible because every time you see that camera angle, it just looks like they're ploughing straight into the back of the car in front when secretly they're trying to get into the pits. It can go horribly wrong at times.
Yeah, you're quite right. It looks like someone's given up on their F1 league race and decided to take out their opponent in front. But no, they're not trying to do that. They're just trying to get into pit lane as quick as they can without causing an issue. It reminds me of the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Speaking of the Villeneuve chicane, the entry into that pit lane for the Formula One Grand Prix.
Yep.
A very similar situation. You sort of at the end of a long straight, you're barreling into pit road. A very slow chicane is coming up, so you have to be wary of cars in front of you when entering.
Peterson into the pit lane as well, and his pit lane may be a little further down. That is Cruz who is coming out the pits, so that just goes to show you how long a pit lane this can be, and you're not out of it because it's a very strange pit exit. You don't just filter out onto the circuit like normal pit lanes do. You have to go right round the gravel trap of the exit of turn 1, and you feed out where but none other onto the racing line of the path of turn 2. So very interesting pit lane here at Zolder then, but nonetheless it's Brennan from Amundsen as Norberg now has entered the pit lane as well, and Cruz come out well ahead of Fernando, you saw in the background there a moment ago.
Yeah, this could be a response to Cruz, maybe a bit wary of potential undercut, or maybe trying to get an undercut done himself on Brennan, the leader. He wasn't far behind him, maybe trying to get some clean air, less distractions once again, trying to get your eye in on that position. Particularly through that first sector, but we'll see how that unfolds. These guys are all getting promoted up though. Sandberg, Udegaardstuin and Udegaard. Third, fourth and fifth now is this trio, and Udegaardstuin is very much on the back of Sandberg there, almost pushing him round this first sector. I wonder if we might see a move down towards turn number 5.
Well, he's kind of been there for a while after he made their mistakes. Now that is Sandberg dropping a wheel into the gravel. Udegaardstuin has a look to the right, now comes back to the left. Not alongside though, so he's not going to make the move there into the first of 3 chicanes, and you're seeing all 3 cars there take a different line through that chicane, and it was the Ferrari that went across the top of it a little more. Salzburg into the pits, as well as Nielsen, who is entered now himself. Fernando and Cruz being promoted, as is Solberg and Axel, probably Petson will come up. Where did Nordberg come out ahead of Cruz? So he's pretty comfortable there with that one done. If we can, if we're able to go on board with Nordberg, just to see if we can see where Cruz is. That's a brilliant shot. There is Cruz in the background. Wow, so that gap is extended from Nordberg. That is a brilliant pit stop from him.
Yeah, that's good racing from him, really. Tactical mind clearly on those shoulders, because he has nailed it to perfection. As Amundsen now comes into the pits, we'll have to see how that where he ends up coming back out in regard to Nordberg and Cruz. Probably more Nordberg though. That's where he would want to be, but he was fighting Cruz just before the pit stop phase. So
he had just got ahead of Hamilton and Cruz. So yeah, going to be an interesting one. But that gap looks bigger than what it was before the pit stop. So where will Amundsen fit out in between? Erdegaard now into the pits. He's probably looking for that undercut over Sandberg then, as I believe, I'm not sure who that car was leaving the pit lane. But either way, it was Nielsen. There we go. Thank you very much to our producer there, as Cruz now P7. Fernando just behind him. Where is Amundsen, who's apparently out of the pit lane? So he's on his run look out towards the race circuit now. I believe that was Nordberg, who has just gone through. There he is, yes. So wow, big jump for Nordberg, but a big jump for Amundsen over that of Cruz. Did Cruz take tyres then and cost himself an extra 5 seconds in the pit lane?
Could be something that's happened here. We haven't really discussed the tyre options here, because in my mind, I was thinking they're all going to stick with the one set and just and fuel the car up. But it is an absolute strategy you can do. You know, it's only 5 seconds extra, and you may gain quite a lot in terms of overall lap time. As Brenham now in pit lane, they've all seemed to have gone for this halfway mark. So no real sort of variation in strategies from these guys, but it does shake up the race a little bit, because you know it concertinas in a way, and then it stretches itself out in others. Until they've all done and finished, it'll be hard to tell where they are.
Yeah, indeed it will. Sandberg then leads from Erdegaard from Brenham, and this is on board with Vestergaard then, who now goes into P3. Brenham is down in P4, so Nordberg over Brenham is going to be the fight to watch. Here is Nordberg. Brenham, the benefit for him, I believe, when we saw him pull up into his pit box, was he is on the very end pit box. Yes, look, he's out the pit lane, so he's coming down that little route now towards the circuit. He'll be somewhere by them advertising boards, and there he is. Now look, he's appeared from the pit lane, and through he goes to take the lead with a huge gap now over Nordberg, proving here that maybe the overcut works a little better.
Yeah, it could well be the case. If that is the case, though, Sandberg and Aldegaard and Westergaard would be the ones going for it, because they still have yet to make that pit stop. So we'll have to keep an eye on them, see what they're doing. But they are fighting it out. You can see here, Sandberg being followed very closely by Aldegaard down towards the hairpin of turn 8. Crew 9 they go, and towards the chicane. Will we see one of them come into the pits, I wonder? No, they seem to still be going round to Aldegaard, having a little look down the inside, maybe trying to find his brake marker point to make sure he does get into the corner as best as he can. But still following Sandberg just for the moment. But we have got a Bentley leading this race. How exciting is that?
We have again, and it's normally the Solberg Bentley, but this time it's the Sandberg Bentley. Nielsen's back into the pit lane. He's just came out again, so not sure what's happened to Nielsen there. Maybe he didn't do the required pit stop. Through comes Sandberg with Erdegaard on the back of him then, trying to take as much places as he can. Now don't forget, they was battling with Solberg and Axel before the round of pit stops kicked off, where Axel had an early pit stop. So this is going to be interesting to see where these guys come out the pits in where these guys, when these guys pit, where they will come out in relation to Solberg over everybody else. But at the minute, it's been a great little race here, and it's just been the mind games, hasn't it, of the strategy. You have to say, Brenham's jumped Nordberg and Amundsen an absolute dream, and they've jumped Cruz by a country mile as well. But I think Cruz could be on that fresher tyre, and it's going to be how much these tyres drop off, isn't it? As Solberg, the other Bentley, who was running rather well. He was leading against these guys earlier in the race. He's into the pit lane.
Yeah, I don't quite know what's happened there. I'm just looking at his lap times. He set almost the fastest lap of the race last time out, and now he's in the pit lane. So I don't quite know what's gone on. I think, maybe he's serving a penalty because he seems to have gone straight through and he's already on exit.
Interesting. Did he just get a drive-through penalty? So now, would that have been for a track limits? I doubt it, because normally a speeding in the pit lane is normally a stop-go penalty, whether it's 10 or 30 seconds. I'm wondering if he's just been a little too greedy on the curbs through the second chicane. Either way, back to Ødegaard then and Sandberg, your leaders in this race provisionally at the moment. Yet to pit all the top three. Ødegaard there getting rather greedy with the curb at turn 3, down towards turn 4 and 5 we go. Brennan, you're seeing there, look, lapping in the 28.0s, 29 for Norberg, 27.8 for Amundsen. What is Cruz going to do? 28.6. Not great from a couple of them guys up front.
No, not at the moment. My mind's actually looking at the traffic though in front. We've mentioned it is a short circuit. It's only 4 kilometres long, or 2.49 miles. But that does mean that traffic could become a bit of an issue for these guys. They're the leaders now. This is Sandberg. They're gaining onto the back of
Zolder. Yeah, and they're gaining onto the back of the car that was in this fight before he pitted. So that shows you what that is. Now, hello. Yeah. Solberg. Is that Solberg coming into the pit lane now?
I'm not too sure.
It is
definitely in.
Oh no, it's Ødegaard, sorry, who was in this fight. It's Ødegaard now who's into the pit lane. Oh, he's got damage. That's bad damage on the front of that McLaren. You can just see his headlights are blinking. That you know you've got some front end damage there. His bonnet's slightly detached from the bumper. He's going to be in the pits there for a while. That will be pretty much the end of his race. Ødegaard then and Vestergaard go into the pit lane. And this is Amundsen, who's pretty close to the back once again of Nordberg. So Sandberg will probably be able to keep that over Ødegaard and a few of the drivers in this race. The drivers just started to make a few errors, but you have to say as well, I wonder what happened to Solberg, because that was penalty drive-through, had to be, because he straight in, straight out.
Yeah, it had to be something like that. I would love to have known what happened to Ødegaard as well, to pick up such damage that he had on that car, because like you say, his race is pretty much done and dusted, but hopefully he'll stick to it and keep going. But once again, he'll be down and at the back and could be a bit of a back marker in this race. So just to shake things up once again as we ride back on board here with Sandberg, still currently your leader. Brennan in second, Norberg, Amundsen, Cruz. So things are shaking themselves back out once again, sort of into the status quo after these rounds of pit stops slowly coming to an end. But Sandberg's still able to continue on, marching forward, really going for that overcut.
Axlin, who was behind Ødegaard and Solberg in this race, I know they've had to pit again, is now running P7. So his early pit stop has worked for him. He's clear here of Ødegaard, and it has really worked for Axlin here then. So up into P7, having another good showing this time out. But we're all just awaiting that of Sandberg to pit. He's the last one to pit, I do believe, as well. But has until that final minute. So as long as he's in the pit lane with a minute to spare, that is absolutely fine. Remember, he'll have to cross that pit entry line where the pit limiter goes on with 1 minute on the clock. If he's down to 59 seconds, the window will be closed, and that will be it. He will end up with a 130-second time penalty, which I believe is the fixed penalty they get for not serving their mandatory pit stop. So it is one that really bites you in the bum a little bit. But Sandberg is a wise guy. He's going to know to get that into the pit lane here then. As the darkness does descend here at Zolder. And there's a yellow flag there. That, I believe, is Pettersson in the other sky blue Bentley. Indeed it is. He's had a moment. Doesn't look too much damage on that car, though. So possibly got away with one there.
Yeah, that could have just been a slide on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane, realising that leader's coming up behind him and just thought, you know what, I'll keep it out the way till he passes and then sensibly rejoin after. So I think that's a very sensible decision from Pettersson there, knowing that he's made the mistake, accepting fault and just making sure not to ruin the run of the guy who is still currently leading this race. You know, although he hasn't pitched just yet, he is still your leader. So yeah, make sure you get out of the way, do the right thing. Brilliant stuff. Back on board though with Brennan. Net leader, you would say, by the time Sandberg does pit. Does seem to be once again steaming out on his own, creating a nice gap between him and Norberg behind. You just see there coming into the background. But that would just mean that he doesn't have so much pressure on him. He can relax a little bit, just enjoy the feel of going round Zolder and just soaking it all in.
Something's happened to Axel, who has dropped behind Erdegaard. Then he was well clear of Erdegaard earlier on in the day. And yeah, look, he's now behind and has got a bit of a big gap back to Erdegaard. The bonnet slightly lifted is a slight indication to what may have happened to Axel in there. He's had some wars then. That could be nasty to drive with 25 minutes left on the clock here then, and he's already lost about 3 seconds of a second to Erdegaard, on that last lap. Just want to point out, by the way, Brennan at the moment is lapping 2 and a bit seconds a lap quicker than Sandberg. He's only 22 seconds off the back of Sandberg. This is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, because so far, if Sandberg goes till the very, very end, he could become a nuisance for Brennan in terms of playing that game, because he won't be obliged to get out of the way, don't forget, he won't be being blue flagged.
No, he won't. He will be racing in full position, so he has every right to sort of defend and or attack if he does get overtaken, and try and take that position back. But I still think it's not going to come to that. I reckon he'll be pitting in before then. If he doesn't come in soon, I fear you're getting into the realms of...
Apologies, Ashley. Amundsen's in the pit lane from net P3. Car looks absolutely fine. He's got to have underfueled. Or is this a penalty to his name?
I think this could be a penalty. Let's see. Does he just fire on back out the other end of the pit lane? Doesn't look like he's pulling in his pit box anytime soon.
No, this is a drive-through penalty. This is track limits, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is. So he's picked up a track limit penalty. And Amundsen's race, well, was on for a podium. Where's Erdegaard in the background now? He's just crossed the line, so he's not going to be challenging Amundsen. But Amundsen there was on for a good podium, take points away from Cruz, and now he finds himself sat behind Fernando and not close to the back of Fernando.
No, he's got it all to do now. If he can try and get onto the back of Fernando, that would be good news, because then he will be able to regain at least one position. He's got 19 minutes left to do it. Bit of a way to go, so there's still a chance. But yeah, making his evening just that little bit harder. That does raise the question. That's 2 people now we've seen come through with penalties for track limits. Will we see any more?
How many drivers are going to be on that 3rd warning then? That's going to be the biggest question you're going to ask yourselves here, because you can have that 3rd warning. The minute you get the 4th, that will trigger the drive-through penalty. So we've had Solberg. We've now had Amundsen. Is there going to be time or room for anybody else? And the warnings don't clear. They stick with you for the entire race, so pitting doesn't get rid of them. Sandberg still leading the way, gap now 17.7 seconds to Brennan. And you have to say, Brennan's starting to take chunks. That's 5 seconds in the last 2 laps he's took out of Sandberg. And Sandberg doesn't really look like he's interested in pitting anytime soon.
He doesn't, does he? Maybe this is the part of his strategy, just to see how many people pick up penalties. All right, he's going slightly slower per lap. But if he's playing it safe, making sure he doesn't get any violations of track warnings, see how many people pick up a penalty, and then just pit sort of towards the end, last possible moment if you like, splash and dash, and just pick up whatever's left.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, could be the way to go. Solberg's gaining on Axel, that is 6 seconds, and that is purely Axel's damage on that Mercedes-Benz car. Look at that. Fair play for still going. Clearly doesn't want to lose too many places. He's going to try and finish as high as he can with that front-end damage. He's got to his name there then. But Amundsen 56 seconds off the lead of Sandberg. And that is huge, because the pit stop, I believe, for Sandberg coming his way is about 60-odd seconds. It was 60 seconds if he doesn't change tyres. So Amundsen 56 seconds behind. That is going to be pretty close, depending on pace over the next couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen 2 drivers pick up damage now. That's still a factor that weighs on the minds of these guys, because it can happen, especially where you are abusing those curves so much. It can unsettle the car quite easily if you take it just a bit too wrong or a bit too harsh, and that's it. Before you know it, you're trying to snap reaction, and you could end up losing the car into the wall. Obviously not ideal. But Solberg last lap, he was about 1.5 seconds quicker than Axelin. So yeah, that damage really hammering the performance of that Mercedes, and I think it could be a matter of time before Solberg catches up and tries to make a move.
Well, there we go then. Solberg to the line. It's 27.9. Jeez. He laps quick after his pit stop, doesn't he, in the Bentley? And he's nearly, again, he's 1.2 quicker than Axelin in front. Sandberg as well, open that gap up to 57 seconds to Amundsen. Just, getting it close. At this stage of the race, Sandberg is not thinking tyres. He's in. So he's into the pit lane. He's not thinking tyres at this stage of the race, because there was no point wasting 5 seconds with 15 minutes left on the clock. You may as well get in and out as quick as you can. And there could be a P5 in this race for Sandberg here. It's going to be an absolutely interesting fight. See where he comes out the pits over Amundsen at the end of this race. So Brenham retakes back the race lead. Norberg goes into second, and Cruz will promote himself into third as he comes across the line now with 22. Not seeing Cruz at his outright best tonight, have we? And challenging Brenham all the way.
No, it's a shame, because I would have liked to have seen it once again, because this young man has really been challenging what is turning out to be the championship leader and man to beat of Brenham. And he's the one sort of been pushing him and making sure that he's been at his absolute best at every race so far. And it's a shame, because we know this young man has such talent at such a young age as well. It is very, very impressive indeed. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But at the same time, third place, you're on the podium. You're still picking up very good points indeed. And ultimately, I think at this point, just making sure you do pick up as many points as you can, because there is still 2 races to go. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. And I'm a little confused at the minute as to what is happening. Amundsen is now registering as 11th. Now 12th. That'll be why.
There you go.
That will be why. I was wondering where he was going to be in terms of Sandberg. Well, Ødegaard got ahead of Sandberg as well, and Sandberg came out ahead of Axelin. Amundsen is stationary, pulled off at that's the final chicane. So that's an interesting one for me. That looks like a little bit of a moment for himself where he's pulled off to retire the car, because I'd have assumed that if it was for fuel, he'd have probably tried to sneak back to the pits a lap or two earlier.
Yeah, you would imagine that would be the case, but it's hard to say. We don't really have that information privy to us, unfortunately. But looking back here at this battle that is about to probably unfold, Sandberg did come out in 6th position, not far behind Ødegaard in 5th, but he has got Axelin and Solberg for company, and those two are very close behind there. As Amundsen still on not the apex of the corner, but just on the little off-road there. This is where I think we could see some good racing in the latter stages of this race now. These guys are going to be battling for position very soon, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and Solberg, who's been kind of the best of the rest out of all the drivers in the top 5 or 6 in recent weeks, is now the man who's trying to hunt down another 2 places to be in that top 6 once again. But it's Sandberg ahead of Axelin, ahead of Solberg. Axelin, though, carrying big damage. You fancy Solberg to get past Axelin within the next 2 or 3 laps in this race. And Munson now has got back to the pit lane, and Nielsen back in as well. I saw him drive into the pit lane, so maybe some damage towards his car at the back of the pack. But Amundsen has returned to the pit lane. I don't think he is driven in from where he was, and the leaders 27.7 for the pair of them, and that gap is separated by just under 6 seconds. Fernando here then, P4, going well, just keeping it consistent. Quiet race for Fernando, really. Was trying to stick to the back of the front 4 early on, wasn't able to, and he's now just kind of trundling along as he goes.
Yep, but he's putting in the lap. He's keeping his head down, which is the most important thing, because he's still in it, if you like.
Yeah.
All it takes is one little mistake, and he could find himself on that podium. But he's doing everything he can do, and that is all you can do. So fair play to him, and he is still in a good position of 4th. We're looking back here currently at Solberg now. He is chasing Westergaard for 9th position. Seems to be only just over a second between these two. We'll keep an eye on that one as it unfolds as well. And Solberg has now gotten past Axlin, so he's up to 7th, Axlin down to 8th.
Yeah, there we go. Axton's damage just hurting him too much in this race at this stage of it. So Solberg is ahead. Solberg has just passed Pettersson. I believe that is a bit of change on the timing screens there. So for Solberg now, he can head after Sandberg. And they're not a million miles away from Ødegaard with just over 10 minutes remaining in this race. It's going to be a fascinating one, as there is Solberg in P10. There is Pettersson in P11. Just been lapped by Norberg, that is, as well. So far so good in what has been rather one of the quieter races out of the 3 so far.
Yeah, it has. You're quite right. Not much we can do about it, unfortunately, but they are still all going at it, which is the most important thing. There's a lot of bergs, and they all begin with S as well. It gets all jumbled up in your mouth there, doesn't it, Matthew? So it's been quite fun trying to pronounce this all this evening, especially when they're fighting on circuit as well. Just adds a little bit of fun and spice to the session. The man who has enjoyed it the most, though, is the man out in front still, and that is Brenham. He's got a nice bit of breathing room behind him, back to Norberg, and Cruz as well, some 10 seconds off him as well. So, yeah, he's kept it calm, clean and comfortable, hasn't he? That's all you can really want. Yeah. All the C's, and doing his absolute best, as he has done every session so far.
And it looks like he's champion-elect at the moment. Can't wrap the championship up tonight, but it's hard to look past Brenham this season. He's not really put a foot wrong, has he? But I think the only time he's not led anything was the first qualifying session of the season, which went to Cruz, and after that he's not looked back. He's been P1 in the qualifiers and the races all the way through. This is Solberg then gaining on the back of Sandberg, so a battle of the Bentleys, some British machinery going at it here at Zolder. 2 very different lines there as Norberg sets a personal best lap of the race. Ødegaard gets past Pettersson, and Pettersson gets repast Ødegaard down for 11th and 12th. This is the fight for 7th and 6th. Solberg, we're on board with Sandberg just ahead of him. And the question's going to be, has he got 5 seconds over Ødegaard to maybe clear Sandberg as quick as he can and chase down Ødegaard at the end of this race, put him under a little bit of pressure and maybe force him into a mistake?
Well, looking at the last laps of both of these guys set Solberg a second quicker than Ødegaard, so if he can dispatch Sandberg quite quickly, then there's an absolute chance that he could get up to the back of him, and we may see a move on the final lap. But he does need to get past Sandberg and get past him soon in order for that to be a reality. As you see them crossing the line now, lap times, Ødegaard's upped his pace actually there, and he's on level with Solberg, so he's responding. That could make life a bit more difficult, but one car at a time. Solberg still following Sandberg here, both in same machinery, so you would argue it's a level playing field, and it's going to come down to a bit of grit and determination, I feel, because it's been proven it's quite hard to overtake around this circuit.
Elbows out, you get the feeling at one stage of this race, but Solberg, like you say, following Sandberg still. This is looking back from the Bentley then of Sandberg in this race. And one thing we forgot to mention as well about the tyres, we were saying about the wear of the tyres. Let's not forget the temperature of the track. Night is clearly descending in this race, so it will be getting cooler from the first hour till the end of this race. It's definitely getting cooler, the track, as it goes towards the night time here. And Solberg there very well not to be in the boot of the Bentley in front of him.
Yeah, don't want that, especially at this point now. You've got just about 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go. Don't throw it all away. That's all I would say. Try and keep where you are if need be and pick up good points. But watching these twin Bentleys go around putting on a last-minute performance for us is good to see. I think Solberg may have got a slightly better exit out of the Jackie X chicane. On the run down towards turn number 1, though, very difficult to get alongside and make a move. We've only seen it once here this evening, and I think even then that was quite a rare showing. But through this first sector, it is very much single file. You really want to focus on getting that turn number 4 coming up now, get an all-important exit and try and get a good run down towards turn number 5, and that's the chicane.
Yeah, you do indeed. So your running order into the last 6 and a bit minutes is Brennan from Nordberg, Cruz, Fernando, Erdegaard from Sandberg, Solberg, Axelen, Vestergaard, Solberg, Petsen, Erdegaardsten, Nielsen. We've lost Armandson and Haugum. I don't really think took to this race because he retired very, very early on. But Sandberg now still having his, I want to call them teammates, running a similar livery, and that looks like a custom decal as well, especially with the Norwegian flag on the roof of the car. So maybe team, members having fun. There is no team points in this championship, but Sandberg and Solberg really putting on a good display here. But Zolder is providing us a bit of follow the leader type racing, although Sandberg goes a little deeper than he might maybe like to there. And Solberg now is just becoming a nuisance. One thing I'd have been doing is I'd have been on that flash button and flashing my lights like crazy for him to move out the way, because yeah, this would be driving me insane right now. But clearly these two are wanting to have a good little battle.
Yeah, you can flash your lights if you want. I don't think he's going to jump out the way, though. If anything, you're probably flashing your lights to try and put him off. Say, hello, right here, trying to get by if you may.
Full touring car.
No, at the moment, Sandberg doing a very good defence at this present moment. As Solberg, he's trying to find that way past still. It is very tricky, though, as we said. At the exact same time, a lap ago. Down now on the run towards turn number 5, the Klein chicane. Not many straights around this Zolder circuit.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what is reducing those overtaking opportunities. There's not a very big slipstream effect, and it's just making it difficult to get alongside. And even now towards that Villeneuve chicane as well.
I feel like what you're saying there is you've got just enough to gain, but just as you're about to pull out and have a look and maybe get alongside into the corner, the straight ends. So you kind of run out of that room, don't you, to not the room of the width of the circuit, but the room of getting alongside enough before the corner comes to really do anything about it. And that's probably why we're not seeing Vestergaard at his best. The Ford Mustang, obviously very quick machinery in a straight line, one of the quickest at the moment on the Assetto Corsa game, but he's not able to show his straight line speed because of the fact the straights are so short.
Yeah, quite rightly, as we're still looking here on board with Sandberg, looking back to Solberg, almost bumper to bumper in that final chicane. It feels like Solberg's trying to push him along, really, to get that advantage and maybe get alongside to make a move. Last time around, though, these two a little bit slower than Odegaard, so I feel like that position of 5th is just slowly becoming out of reach for Solberg, and he's probably going to try and settle for 6th if he can get the move done. But we were briefly on board there with P10 of Solberg, back towards the leader of Brennan, though, and he's still sitting nice and comfortable out there on his own. You just see Norberg pip up in the background, but still lots of breathing room, and he's looking still very comfortable.
Cruise control, isn't it, for Brennan tonight? He's been fantastic from lights to flag. Could be a 3rd win of the season. This is the fight, though, at the moment, isn't it, between the two Bentleys, the two Bergs, Sandberg and Solberg at the moment, and who's going to come out on top at this Zolder circuit then. The only right-hand drive car on the game, so therefore a different feel for the drivers who step into the Bentley Continental. Obviously a part of the VW group, and, just a long line of very nice cars and enjoyable cars to drive on this sim, as you see Solberg just clattering them sausage curbs to start with a little harder than normal. And I'm not going to lie, even though we're from England and being in England, seeing this camera angle on a right-hand drive car just seems wrong on this sim. You're used to seeing it so many times on all the other cars that it's left-hand drive. Just something about it feels weird.
Yeah, you're saying it's weird. Imagine my point of view. I've been driving on the left-hand side of a car for the last 3 years, so this is absolutely alien to me at this point. But yeah, you're quite right. Every other car is sort of left-hand drive, and this is right-hand drive. So a bit of Britishness there for you, but this is sort of being give you a little bit of knowledge here then, Matthew, maybe. The Battle of the Mountains. Berg meaning mountain in sort of Norwegian and Danish.
Oh, there we go.
So yeah, here we go. It could be a titanic moment as Solberg may be lining up a move. Hamburg had a bit of a mistake, still having to back out though, because like we say, the circuit, the straight's just not long enough. Very hard to get alongside.
Very hard to get alongside. And let's not take away from Solberg's comeback drive here. he had a drive-through penalty earlier in this race. So the fact he's fighting at the moment for P6 is extraordinary from him. He's doing really, really well as they come through the chicane. And one of the circuits where the cameramen like to be a little lazy and not pick you up straight away as you come through certain corners. I believe the other one is Valencia, which we actually go to next week. The cameramen there are a little useless at times. That's built into what the game obviously is. And if you change the driver at the wrong time, he sort of slowly turns around and pans around. He's like, well, I'll get there eventually. But Brennan coming to what will start the final lap of the race. He's got plenty of time to start one. He hasn't got plenty of time to slow down and let the race end. So there will be one more lap. We're about to take the white flag here. And it's once again been Brennan who has been a cut above the rest in this race. White flag it is now, which means Solberg has this lap and one more to really get on the back of Sandberg and make a move. Are we going to see a bit of a lunge maybe if he gets on the rear of him onto the last lap?
Oh, I'd imagine we may. And talking to the camera, maybe slip him a bit of money. They might speed up, who knows. Either way, though, yeah, like you say, Sandberg, Solberg, this battle here that's raging on, only just over a lap to go, and we may see that lunge, or maybe he'll settle for the good points finish that we've got. You don't want to ruin your race, but only a few corners left really here for Brennan up over the crest and in towards the Villeneuve chicane. You can count them off. I think there's only about 3 corners left officially.
Yeah, I believe there is. So uphill once again through the right-hander goes Brennan now, and he's on his way towards the final couple of corners. And for Brennan, it's been a fantastic day of racing. It's been a fantastic drive at Zolder. He's going to make it 3 from 3. He's 7 seconds ahead of Norberg. It's been absolutely just clinical from Brennan in this championship so far. And another clinical drive here tonight. Brennan exits the final corner and is going to take the checkered flag. He will win round 3 of the season here at Zolder. Nordberg is looking like the man to take second place. There he is in the background. A great drive from Nordberg. Second place for him. The 12-year-old Cruz has probably been gifted a P3. Didn't have the pace today, but he will take that podium nonetheless. And that is a P3 for Alan Drake Cruz. Great drive from the young man. Fernando, P4 in his McLaren. Very quiet race. Not really seen Fernando in a lot of this tonight. P4 for him. Erdegaard, after being down the order early on in the race, he's going to come home and take P5. That is Solberg ahead of him, who is a lap down. So for Erdegaard here, this is going to be P5, but it is a battle of the mountains, a battle of the Bentleys as they come in towards the final chicane. Is Solberg close enough to Sandberg to make a move? Is he going to have a lunge up the inside into the final part? No, he's not. Maybe looks for the run on the exit. Gets really close to the rear wing. Erdegaard's going to come to the line, and Sandberg is going to hold on to P6 from Solberg. No, he's let his teammates have it. Solberg gets Sandberg at the line. He's let him have it on the line, and that is incredible.
Yeah, that's got to be a team play there, hasn't it? You know, for the championship. Solberg has been the better driver so far as Axelsen crosses the line in that stricken Mercedes. Here comes Westergaard now ahead of Solberg from 9th and 10th. That Ford Mustang, it didn't do too bad, but I don't think the lack of straights suited that car.
Yeah, I will agree with you there as well. But that was a fantastic Zolder. And once again, really, Ashley, that Brennan has really, shown us how it is done. It's clinical from him at this stage. And with 2 races of the season left to go, Valencia and the Red Bull Ring, you feel now that Brennan's got one hand on this title.
Yeah, I feel he's sort of got his towel on it in a way. It seems to have it quite easily sewn up. Like you say, champion-elect. But yeah, he's running away with it, isn't he? He, like you said earlier, absolutely clinical. He's keeping it squeaky clean, like his racing as well, and the lap times to go with. So yeah, fair play to him. He's doing all what he needs to do and then some. But Norberg and Cruz, they're still close.
Yeah, they're still close. Feel for Amundsen a bit tonight. Maybe, that drive-through penalty, just pushing the limits a little bit too hard, maybe to try and get on the back of Nordberg.
potentially that could have what happened, but it'd be interesting to see why, or maybe find out why he didn't finish the race at all, because he was still well up there, even though he had that moment of getting the penalty, having to serve it through the pit lane. He was still in the race, so it's interesting to see what happened.
Points been prizes at the end of the day, but not today. We do have a few interviews. Sorry, we can bring you now. Let's drag the race leader of Brenham into the chat for a quick interview. We can speak with Brenham now. Brenham, good evening to yourself, and very much a congratulations, because that was a clinical victory.
Well, good evening, guys. Thank you. It was a really nice one. This.
Really good race. Talk us through your season so far. Obviously, we've not been able to speak too much this season. 3 wins out of 3. It's been good pickings for you so far.
Yeah, the first 2 tracks was, I think, quite good for me, and this one was a little bit more. It could go really good or it could end really bad. So we will have to see for the next one. I don't think Valencia will be my favorite.
So Valencia, your favourite. What about the Red Bull Ring at the end of the season?
No, I like Red Bull Ring a lot, but Valencia, I'm a little bit more nervous about that one.
A little bit more nervous about that one. Clinical though tonight. Is it one hand on the championship now with 2 races left to go?
Well, I mean, everything can happen. You see, Anders today, for example, looking for a strong P3, and then he had some technical failure. So everything can happen.
Everything can happen. And finally, anybody you'd like to thank at the end of tonight's broadcast?
Well, I would like to thank the rest of the team, Anders and Lasse. We had some cooperation with the setup, and it worked really good. So I have to thank West Competition for that one.
Brenham, congratulations. Enjoy that victory. We'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you.
And let's try and get Nordberg in now for a chat as well. P2 man, and Ashley, I'll let you take this one.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Hello, Nordberg. Nice to have you here. For the first time. First of all, how do you feel the race went?
The race was hard. Zolder is like a battle of mistakes. The one with the fewest wins. The pace was pretty even with the top 4. So Øystein won with the fewest mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. One with the fewest mistakes does prevail, because it is quite technical and tricky. I mean, pit stops, maybe you can give us a bit of an insight here. Sort of what tend to be sort of people's thoughts about strategy?
I think usually on tracks like this where it's hard to overtake, the undercut is usually the way to go. So you can benefit from the track position.
Yeah, sort of picking up a bit of clean air.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes absolute sense. Fair enough. Yeah, still in this championship though. Of course, a bit more to do to try and catch back up to Brenham. Have you got a game plan in mind maybe going forward?
I don't think catching up to Brenham is possible. He has 2 strong tracks coming up. And I think Alan as well will be very, very fast on the next 2.
Gotcha. So yeah, you worried then about Valencia?
Yeah, and the Red Bull Ring in the next in the last heat.
Yeah. Well, I hope to see you still racing towards the front end of things. That would be the best thing, of course. But well done for today. Congratulations on P2, and hopefully we can speak to you next time as well.
Yeah, we will manage that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And do we have time for one more? Just what are we doing now? Where are we? Oh, there we go. We could do them all. Yeah, let's take who we got. Let's bring Sandberg. Let's talk to Sandberg about the end of the race. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Sandberg, well, congratulations, really. It was a good fight at the end of that race with Solberg.
Yeah, no, I've been changing the car now for this race because of the old days in the sim racing stories what we have here. But yeah, it was a fun race, and of course maybe half a second better each lap will have helped me a lot, but it was a fun fight with everything, and in the last corner with with Truls. It's important for him to get the points, and we are driving for the same team, so I wanted to let him go and get the last points. And yeah, it was a lot of fun this time, and I hope we can keep going with the practice, and yeah, let it be a better race next time.
The Bentley's a bold car choice, isn't it? Obviously, being one of the older cars on Assetto Corsa. It seems to get better though throughout the race as the race goes on throughout the night. The car seems to get stronger and stronger. Is that how it feels?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, or in my situation, is that I'm not having enough of driving at the moment. I'm using this championship to come back a little. I've been 3 years off, and then just having a day before the Monday before to practice, and then coming in here and enjoying the fun together with everyone, and that's the way. But the Bentley feels, what should I say, in quali pace is not really the strongest because it needs laps. And we actually had big problems with tire temperature here, where it was so cold, and it was for us important to get 10-15 minutes before the car really start to work. And yeah, but when it first starts, it have amazing performance. You have no choice when it comes to traction control. You can drive one or nothing. So because, as you say, the car is old Technic, ABS is not so good, so of course we have some deficit when it comes to the technology in the car, but it's an amazing sound, it's amazing feeling to drive. And I think that's maybe one of the cars when the game came out where they had the most time in to develop everything. So the car is just amazing to drive, and I just love every second I sit in the Bentley. So I'm happy I was allowed to change.
We go to Valencia and the Red Bull Ring in the next couple of weeks. What do you think you can do around there, and what can you get out of them as you close this championship?
Should I be honest with you, or should I be political?
Give us the honest answer.
The honest one is that I need to buy the track first. So
there we go.
Because I haven't tested it yet. So as I said, I haven't been on for 3 years. So it's quite important for me now to just get laps. So that's why, for example, the practice day, I think yesterday I drove 250 laps, just driving, and just talk with the other guys in Beta Frost. They are helping me a lot with looking and seeing, like, oh, here you have to be careful on the brake, and here. Do you remember the old times? And I'm like, no, I don't want to remember the old times. I want to drive now, today, and don't talk about the old times. Yeah, because I mean, me and Anders, for example, was driving a lot earlier, and we was on the same pace, and now I'm like 1.5 seconds off. But I'm enjoying the moment and enjoying the people around, and yeah, later today I look on the amazing live stream what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you very much, Oscar. Congratulations, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the championship.
Thank you.
Actually, anybody you'd like to speak to next, and we can get them in and get you to have a chat with them.
I'd love to know what happened to Amundsen there at the end, towards the closing stages. If we could have a word with him.
Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant stuff. Hello, Amundsen. Nice to have you here. Bit of a tough day at the office, wasn't it, in the end? What happened? That's what I would love to know.
Yeah, the throttle input for the game bugged, so I couldn't give the full throttle from almost after 10 minutes.
Right.
So I had a 90% throttle for like 20 minutes, and then after that it just stopped. So after the pit stop I just had 60% throttle input.
And so even with all the technical difficulties you were having, you were still able to produce those sort of lap times. That is actually very impressive.
Yeah, so I was a bit annoyed because I was losing 3 to 5 tenths lap. So I knew I had the pace, but I was unlucky here. There was a bug in the game for some reason. I haven't had that problem before. But yeah, it happened. So I just quit the game, joined in again, and the problem was gone.
It's typical in those situations how you resolve these things. It's a real shame because you were looking on for some pretty good points. Well then, looking towards the next 2 races, are you feeling confident?
I think that was going to be fun for the next races. It's more tracks for, I would say, tight racing and overtakes. So I think that was hopefully going to be spicy for the next couple of races, together with the BMWs here, and a little bit more fighting than it has been in the past rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, looking forward as well. What are your sort of expectations for this championship? I'm not 100% sure where you are, but where are you hoping to finish?
The goal was P3 at the moment, maybe top 3, but after this round, it isn't any drop round, so if top 5 may be possible after this one. So I have to climb on for that for the next 2 races.
Yeah, absolutely. But going well nonetheless, which is always good to see. So no, unfortunately today didn't quite go as planned. It's one of those things. But good luck for the future, and I hope to see you a bit further up towards the top end again.
Thanks, mate.
No worries.
Let's get Alan Drake cruising. So I'm very interested to speak to the young man, 12 years of age, 20 years younger than myself. And I have to say, he's drove phenomenally well this season. Alan, just talk us through your goals this season, because you've driven really, really well for such a young age.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Yeah, I think it's going pretty well. Justin has performed amazingly, no mistakes, amazing pace, and to force him into a mistake is actually a miracle to even do that. So, yeah, very fast driver.
A very fast driver. Not the best pace from yourself tonight. Wasn't able to get that second place that we've seen you be fighting for this season. But we've got 2 races left, Valencia and Red Bull Ring. What's the goals for them and the goals for the rest of the championship?
My goal, of course, is to win the thing. But yeah, but I have had good pace in those 2 tracks in the past, so I'm pretty confident that I can have a chance at the win at least. So I'll see how it goes. I'll try my best, and yeah.
And 12 years old, obviously on a grid of experienced drivers. We've just heard from Solberg a moment ago, who's had 3 years out of the game. For yourself, who's at 12 years old, is it intimidating at such a young age to be on the grid with such experienced drivers, or does that make you feel more confident when you're able to beat these guys?
I don't feel like it's a disadvantage with my age. Anything is possible, and yeah, if I just keep pushing, and yeah, I have the time, so I just have to keep pushing and see where I get to.
See where you get to. Well, Alan, it's been a pleasure this season to commentate on such a quick young driver, and nice to finally speak to yourself as well. So best of luck for the rest of the season. Anybody you'd like to thank at the end of today?
I just like to say thank you to Nils, of course, his help, and of course Next Level Racing for this rig, and my dad who supports me, and yeah.
No. There we go. Alan, congratulations once again, and best luck for the rest of the 2 races.
And thank you so much, sir. And thank you for commentating.
No, you're more than welcome. Pleasure. And that was Alan Drake Cruz there. And I believe we only have Fernando left to go. So, Ashley, we'll let you end off with Fernando here, who's had a pretty quiet night, to say the least.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fernando. Go on.
No, you can start.
No worries. That was that's heartwarming. That was. But yeah, Fernando, to yourself, you finished there in a 4th position. Good position as well. You sort of slowly been working your way up the grid, race after race. So how are you feeling after that one?
Really good. Definitely really happy with that race. Of course, I gained some position because of Amundsen getting tracked like driver and the problem he had with his throttle. But yeah, still really happy. Definitely more than I expected into the race because of I'm like the cars in front, the top, maybe top 4, top 5 is usually have been just that one step ahead with pace. So it's hard to expect me actually being on the same level as them. But now I didn't get any track limits, and Amundsen got any tech problems. But I'm really happy.
Yeah, you say you not necessarily amongst them, but today you absolutely were. You were sort of trading lap times between them, keeping with them. I mean, what sort of ultimately led you to just drop off that little bit and fall back just sort of into a race of your own almost? Not the worst position, but just sort of racing against yourself almost.
I don't know really. I know this Zolder, I'm usually fast here than at least the other tracks that have been in this championship. So yeah, that could be maybe some of it why I've been more competitive this race. But yeah, I really don't know.
No, that's okay. I thought I'd ask. Maybe you had an insight to it, but nonetheless. But you do seem to be improving week after week. It seems it's moving further and further up. So surely that's a nice confidence boost going forward to Valencia.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Valencia is a track I think, at least, I'm also good at, like Zolder. So hopefully I can keep going with this and maybe top 5, 4. I don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you fighting up amongst them once again, because I do like looking at that lovely mint coloured car you have. So no, good stuff. And well, congratulations for your result today.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you here and chatting with you as well, getting a insight into all the drivers' minds. So hope to speak to you again in a few weeks' time as well.
Thank you. Bye.
And that there was the driver interview. So we've just got Ødegaardsen just jumped in, so we can grab one last quick word with him as we are joined now by Ødegaardsen, who a very eventful race for yourself, but it wasn't to be tonight. Just that bit of damage at the end of the race.
Yeah. So my qualifying went very well, 6th place I think. So very happy with that. And the first half of the race went pretty all right. Followed my teammates. My teammates in Better Frost. But then when I went to the pit, I didn't really... Yeah, I don't know where my head was. So I didn't engage the pit limiter and then got us the drive-through. And then I managed to jump over the curb in the first chicane and then I spun and took some damage. So, yeah.
And it was a good fight, really, wasn't it, in the first half of the race that you was having with the Bentleys especially. So just a shame at the end, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very nice battle at the start. Exciting, very fun. So, yeah, a shame.
How's your championship been so far? Obviously, we're seeing improvements from yourself week after week. How's it going? And where do you hope to be finishing at the end of the season?
Joining the championship, I set a goal of finishing in the top 10. And then in the first race in Brands Hatch, I finished 8th. So that was real good for myself. So yeah, it's top 10 is my goal.
Valencia and the Red Bull Ring coming up in 2 weeks' time, and it's back to back for these two. What can you do around them? Do you get on with the circuits? Do you enjoy the circuits?
I haven't really driven that much on Valencia, so it will be exciting to see how it will go there. Red Bull Ring, I've driven it quite a bit before, so really fun track. I think it will be very close. So yeah, just practice and see how it goes.
See how it goes, indeed. Anybody you'd like to thank at the end of this evening?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my teammates in Better Frost, Truls and Oscar and Matthias. So yeah, thank you.
Indeed. Well, Ødegaardsen, congratulations, or commiseration, should I say, tonight. Hopefully it goes a bit better for you at Valencia.
Thank you.
And that is everybody in the interview room. Ashley, what a night's worth of racing here at Zolder. 2 weeks' time, we head to Spain for Valencia in what is going to be then a double header with that and the Red Bull Ring. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic end to this season. But Brennan is the man to beat.
Yep, absolutely is. Clinical right from word go. And yeah, tonight just proved it once again. He's absolutely on it and the man to beat, like you say. So looking forward to Valencia. It's not a traditional race car circuit. It is more for bikes. So that could be quite an interesting race to watch.
It could be indeed. 2 weeks' time then is the penultimate round of the season at Valencia. You make sure you join us there live for all the action, and then followed by the Red Bull Ring the week after. But it's Brennan who has gone 3 from 3. Can he go 4 from 4 and 5 from 5? We'll see in 2 and 3 weeks' time. But from all of us here, good night.